It is late. So today we'll be just doing the Ask Me Anything Fridays. We'll see how this runs. I'm looking rough because I just came back from the gym, like fresh out the gym, and I'm crushing some McDonald's. I am crushing McDonald's right now. Got a strawberry shake. Anybody got a problem with the shake? You don't have to drink it. I do. I want it. I got it. If you want to talk about the pink, I don't care. Strawberry shakes are pink. So if you got a problem with that, so be it. I can fight. um, if you have a problem with McDonald's, again, it's my stomach. I eat what I want, and I just did two uh, cardio sessions. Well, dual running today. So did my normal 11 kilometers uh, this afternoon. Well, this evening actually. And then rested a bit. Then went to the gym, did another running on a treadmill uh, with a friend of mine since he needed to do some cardio for his routine, and decided to reward myself with some things I haven't had in a long time. I haven't had a milkshake in a long time, particularly from McDonald's. Uh, I had a McFlurry too. Yeah, I had both. I haven't had a McFlurry in years, and now they come in a new carton, like a carton like you put Chinese takeout food in. My niece told me that's because it's supposed to be better for the environment. I'm like, okay, sure. They're both going in the trash, so it's not really more better for the environment since they're both going to be filling up you know, a trash dump either way. But I guess I get it. Less plastic, more more biodegradable. The problem with that is when things are dumped into these trash sites, right? Even if they're biodegradable, they're not going to degrade as fast if they're not exposed to the sun. So, anywho, like I said, this is Ask Me Anything Fridays again, guys. So, ask away. Again, make sure your questions are appropriate. Don't ask me inappropriate questions, please. Well, one, they won't get answered, and two, you'll just be spinning your wheels for no reason. Jocelyn Bukowski says, "Why don't dishwashers have a light inside like an oven does when you open the door?" I think some of them do actually. Probably I'm guessing it depends on the model and the type, but I think some do. But don't quote me on that. I'm not, I'm not a expert nor an engineer for that sort of uh, tech. So I wouldn't know. That'd probably be a good question for Chat GPT or Gemini or Google. But I would assume some of them do. But again, I'm not sure. Eric, what's going on, man? He said, "Hey, man, it's been a while." Yeah, it has. I don't know when's a good time to reach all my Erics. Remember at one point I had three of you like back to back in the live streams. But I don't know if I was streaming too late. But I've tried different hours. I know on Sundays, like the late morning, early afternoon, I get a lot of play then. But usually on the weekdays, it's usually like the mid, like evening time, like right around the time most people get home. So around 7, 8ish, 9ish is like a good time for me to stream. but sometimes I do it later because I've been working and then I go to the gym, so I don't start streaming till like 9, 10, 11. So Eric says, why do they call it a hot water heater? Shouldn't it be a cold water heater? Right. It, what's another one? I mean, there's a lot of weird appliance names, right? Like refrigerator. Why is it a refrigerator? Like when were you fridging it prior? Right? Refrigerator. I don't know. Um, Nono says, uh, I've definitely never seen a dishwasher with a light on it. I haven't either, but I'm probably misremembering something. I might be confusing a dishwasher I thought had a light in it with some other appliance, but I thought that I've seen one before. Maybe I'm mistaken. I might be thinking of, I don't know. I could be thinking of some other appliance, but I thought I had saw one before that had a light in it. But I might be confusing it with something else. To be honest, Eric Eric says true. I remember that. True. He said they should. He said they should. That's a good deal. Yeah. Or in physics, like if well well astrophysics and astronomy in the early part of the universe, um when matter and energy first separate because the heat of the cosmos has cooled down enough that that matter and radiation can separate, which is when we first can see the universe, and we see that through the cosmic microwave background radiation. They call that era the I guess the uh, matter and radiation um, recoupling or something like that. I'm like, how's it recoupling? This is the first time it's separated. But yeah, some names don't make sense. I'll just say that some names either that or they're caught up in like just antiquated terminology. So, but and so guys, I early this week I had talked about Deadpool and Wolverine, so feel free to talk about that because I know I said months and months ago let's not talk about that because I don't want to spoil it. Which I think I was being nice because a lot of those little big nerdy um, YouTube channels had spoiled it like the week that it came out. Like I hated that. I had to. They did the same thing during Endgame, and I had unplugged from like all the comic book news and websites and YouTube channels and stuff like that because they will wait until the very time a movie comes out, and that next day they will spoil it. And they'll say spoiler alerts or whatever, but the fact is, I don't need that stuff coming up on my timeline before I had the chance to see it. Now, Endgame, I didn't mind because I watched it the first night it came out on Thursday night. But most people didn't. Most people didn't see it until that Friday, that Saturday, maybe even that Sunday, or maybe a week or two later. And they got to get the spoilers coming from every side. People were leaving spoilers on Facebook. Someone on Twitter at the time had given the whole the whole movie away before the movie actually even came out. I think it was some Asian kid, and they ended up, I think, scrubbing his account or something like that. Not Twitter, but like I think some hackers or something. I think they doxed him and like uh, took down his account or something like that. But I'm not even mad because that little autistic Asian kid should have known better than do something stupid like that. Nicholas says, "What's up? What's going on, Nicholas?" Eric says, "Haven't seen or heard of it." Nicholas is not having any technical issues today. The only technical issues I've been having is with me being able to bring on a guest for live stream because I haven't been able to do so with my wife, but it's not her fault because I tried someone else in the Philippines and she couldn't get on either because she was a previous guest as well and she wanted to come on. And she told me, let me know when it's fixed. She's like, I'll come back on. I'm like, all right, cool. Um, so the only other thing I could think of is a Philippine issue because I haven't tried anyone in America yet. So I need to test it out with a guest here in the States and see uh, if it's a issue with my channel specifically, or just vertical live streams generally, or if it's like maybe there's a firewall on that side of the world in the Philippines that's not allowing me to bring on guests from there. So I'm not sure. GJC says evening. What's up? What's up, G? Um, Nicholas says, "Try me." I will have to do it. I have to do it another time, Nicholas. I'm sorry. Because the way the vertical live stream works, I have to set it up already to accept guests, and I didn't do that prior to starting this live stream. I would have to read. I would have to shut down this live stream and start a whole new one to bring on guests. Next time, so next time, what I'll do when I start my live stream, I'll start it up with the capabilities of bringing on guests, just in case someone wants to come on and I can try it out. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Eric says, yeah, it could be a glitch. It could be, or I know I haven't done anything against the YouTube partnership rules to to be blocked from having guests on my vertical. I'm still monetized, so I know I didn't do anything wrong. Um, G says having some Kentucky bourbon to celebrate a promotion this week. Well, congrats on that. Hope you're getting that moolah. I've been celebrating, well, not celebrating, but I've been spending some of my birthday money still I have left over from last month. Um, Buying fast food. I just bought like a chicken Big Mac. And I don't know why they're dogging it out on, like, I saw them dogging it on like the Washington Post and some other places saying it wasn't that good. It it depends on whether you already like the Big Mac or not. If you don't already like the Big Mac, you're not gonna like the chicken Big Mac. But if you do like the regular Big Mac, it's actually better. But I've heard people say it was bland and colorless or whatever. Like, why are you concerned about color? Like, most coloring in food is artificial coloring anyway. The less coloring, the better. But in any case, I like it better than the regular Big Mac. But again, I like the Big Mac. So for a person who doesn't like it, then they're not gonna like the chicken Big Mac either. But yeah, I've been celebrating. I had a chicken Big Mac. I'm still drinking my strawberry shake. I even had a McFlurry earlier. This was coming right from the gym. Um, so that's how I've been celebrating. Yesterday I had a 20-piece meal, and I bought the McDonald Boo Bucket. I've been wanting one of those since I was a kid, back in the '80s when those first came out, and I don't remember if I had one back then and I threw it away or it got tossed in my toy bin and I never retrieved it because all of our stuff when we moved from Illinois back to Maryland, we left like half of all our stuff there. So I left all my toys there, all my books, everything, my puzzles, my computer, like everything. Um, but if I had a Boo Bucket, I don't have it now, so I bought a new one yesterday because they restarted it. They bring it back every couple of years, so that's how I've been celebrating. Eric said spell check. Sorry, no, you're good. I knew what you meant. What, you didn't know about the chicken Big Mac? Yeah, it's Hold up. Let's see. Does it say it on here? Um, it it doesn't say it on the box, but it's on the order. Chicken Big Mac. Can you see that? Yeah, maybe it's not in your area, but I think they're everywhere. They even had that they even have that Twitch influencer doing commercials now. Kai Sanat, for people who know him, is um a big time streamer on TikTok and on YouTube. He'll do like 24-hour streaming, which to me is insane to stream for 24 hours. But if you literally have nothing else better to do, then sure, I guess you can just stream for 24 hours. That's crazy as fuck to me, but whatever. He gets paid millions of dollars just for people to sit there and watch him do nothing all day, which is fucking insane. This is why this is the kind of stuff that leads to FOMO. Um, but yeah, now he's doing McDonald's commercials. He was advertising the chicken Big Mac. G says don't know we have that chicken Big Mac here. Gotta check. Yeah, I don't know if that's it. Might just be in the U.S. I know it's not in the Philippines because I asked my wife. Eric says, "Where have I been?" Nicholas says, "Cheat day." Well, technically, every day for me is cheat day because I eat whatever I want. To be honest, like because people be like, "Oh, you're in good shape. What do you eat?" I'm like, I eat whatever. I was like, I eat whatever I want. Like the only thing I do consciously do is not eat a lot of carbs to carb load for my runs. But I'm a distance runner, so if I'm running 6 to 8 miles every day, it really doesn't matter what I eat because at this point, anything I eat is just pretty much fuel. Plus, I don't just run; then I also do like martial arts, and then I go to the gym. So my run alone is killing 1,000 calories. I burn 1,000 calories each run, and do over like 10,000 steps with the run. Then if I shadow box for like a half an hour, that's I gotta look up how much, but I'm thinking that's about almost about 500 calories too. Then if you know go to the gym for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, so it's like I don't really have to worry about what I eat other than the only thing I do worry about is protein because I have PKU, which is like a genetic condition. But other than that, I don't worry about calories. I don't worry about fat. I don't worry about carbs. None of that. I just every day is a cheat day for me because every day I run. Moonlit Fern, what's up, man? G says my son has been into boxing lately. Got him signed up to a kickboxing class on Monday. He insists on eating healthy and exercising now. LOL, he's 7. Make sure he doesn't go. Make sure he doesn't overdo it with the eating healthy thing because at 7 is not a time where you need to be worrying about what you eat so much as so much as making sure you're eating well-rounded meals every day. But at 7, he doesn't need to be like counting calories and making sure he has enough protein. All it's like that's no that at that age that could start someone into like into stuff like a eating disorders or body dysmorphia, stuff like that. So, but other than that, but that's excellent. He's doing his boxing and kickboxing. That's excellent though. Moonlit Fern says that's good. G. Nicholas says it's 12:04. 12:04. I need to go to sleep. Maybe. Yeah, it's the same time here. Like I'm not gonna stay up too late. But I just wanted to touch base because I haven't done a stream in 2 days, so I don't want people to think I'm not doing my lives anymore. I've just been busy the last 2 days. Eric says, "Wow, it's crazy." Only Ferns is telling Nicholas sleep well. He's out trying, no promises. Eric says that's crazy. 24 hours, damn. I did 3 hours today, and I'm good for once or twice a week. I need to step up my game. you talking about the streaming? When I was talking about how Kai Cenat and some of these other um, live streamers will stream for 24 hours. That's crazy. Like, there's no way I'm staying up 24 hours just to stream. Like, I think they do get some rest in. I don't know how it works because I honestly haven't watched them and I will never watch them. But there's a lot of like Twitch streamers. Um, and I guess some of them post the same content. I don't know if they post the same content on YouTube or they do different content for YouTube and Instagram, but he's also on YouTube. But I think most of his stuff he does for Twitch. Yeah, he'll just stream for 24 hours. I mean, he's not a talented person. He's not exactly a fly dude. Like he's not like a ladies man or anything. Like he looks like a Timu version of Lil Wayne, or he looks like Lil Wayne if Lil Wayne doesn't look wasn't so look doesn't didn't look so cracked out nowadays. Like Lil Wayne looks cracked out as fuck right now. I don't know what he's been doing, but it's been more than just cigarettes and weed. Like he looks like he's been hitting some hard shit. Because Lil Wayne looks grizzly. But in any case, he looks like he looks like a Timu version of Lil Wayne without the drugs. He's not particularly talented. He's a college dropout. He just plays video games like a lot of Twitch streamers, and then he'll talk trash and he'll bring on guests. Like he's had famous celebrities on his streams, like people like Nicki Minaj and stuff like that. So and then people might have remembered from last year he got in trouble because he threw this event in New York City where he was giving away. I think he was supposed to be giving away a bunch of new iPhones at the time. I think this is like late 2022 or early 2023, and it caused a bit of a stampede where he was. So he was I think charged for citing a for I guess starting a riot or whatever. So I don't know if that's been dismissed, whether he got convicted of anything, whether they dropped the charges. I don't know what happened, but I consider the dude a moron. He's just a lucky moron. But he think in his eyes he think he's talented. Uh, Nicholas says, "Wait, what's PKU? Stands for phenylketonuria. It is a genetic metabolic disease whereby um, phytoketonerics can't. That's the name of people who have the disease, phytoketonerics. They can't digest phenylalanine, which is an amino acid in all protein. And this used to be called Foling's disease, named after the doctor who discovered it. Some guy from like the Netherlands or Finland or somewhere, one of those Scandinavian countries. He discovered it because he realized this was causing retardation in people because left untreated, the buildup of that excess amino acid affects the brain whereby it will cause mental retardation, and so you have to get treated as a newborn for it. And it was just getting treated in the early 70s. Uh, but now they've realized that even adults need to still be on some form of uh, PKU diet to maintain them, their brain health, you know, over time. So you have to watch your protein. Luckily, I don't have the classic form of it. My form is a milder form called hyperphenylemia, which means I can't digest all of phenylalanine, but it's not so bad that I have to be on the classical diet where they have to restrict all my dietary protein. So that is what got me medically discharged from the army because when we were being deployed, they was like, "Well, you have to be on a restricted diet, so you can't be in the field." I'm like, "Okay." So they just kept me stateside, and then when I was stateside, uh, the unit I went back to Walter Reed, they were getting deployed as well. So the original army unit I was with, um, I had left them to go to Walter Reed, but because I hadn't already trained, I hadn't already been MOS qualified under my new medical MOS, they were able to draw me back into their unit when they got deployed. But because of my dietary restrictions, I had to stay stateside, and they sent me back to my Walter Reed Army unit, and then they got deployed. So the medical board just determined to medically discharge me. So Eric says yes, going live. Yeah, 20. It's a bunch of those guys that do 24-hour streaming. Eric, to me, that's weird. And like I said, I don't know if they stay up the whole 20. I'm gonna have to ask my niece and nephew. They'll know, but I don't know if they stay up the whole 24 hours and then they sleep afterwards, or they actually take a few hours to sleep during their live streams and then get back on. I don't know. Either way, I wouldn't watch it. Moonlit says not talented at all. Kai's an industry plant like the Bobby girl that does the awkward podcast. She had Drake on there, and Kai had Nikki and Kevin Hart. Yeah, I know he had both of them on there. You're right. Wait, is Bobby Moonlit? Is Bobby the white girl who does those really bland interviews? Is that who that is? Bobby is that the white chick that does those like really bland ass interviews? If you know who I'm talking about. Eric says I do tractor rides, chat and burpee workouts, and as a beginner, hey, get it where you get it, man. Dunjo says hello. What's up, Dunjo? Moonlit says haven't done burpees in forever. Yeah, speaking of burpees, like my friend the other day, he was deciding whether he wanted to do cardio or not. He was like, I could run. He said, but I'm looking at other things because he was just looking at how you can kill 500 calories. He was like, or um, he said I was like, shit, man. If you had a jump rope, I said you can do like 10 minutes of jumping rope is equivalent to 30 minutes of running. He's like, yeah, but you gotta do it fast. I was like, you don't have to do it fast. You just have to do it consistently. But I forget he's like overweight, so anything cardio for him is like a journey. Like it's like a big deal. So, because to me, skipping rope isn't a big deal for like 10 minutes, but for him that would be. So we ended up just running. But he was like, yeah, with burpees, I could. He said I could do like, I think he said 600 something of them. I was like, man, ain't nobody doing like 600 something burpees. I was like, that's crazy. He's like, oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying that would be the number. I was like, that's an insane number of burpees to do. Like 600 something. I couldn't fathom doing that. That would just be so tiring and monotonous. Like over 600 burpees. Mm. G says idea for a topic another day. Should black celebrities be denouncing Diddy? LeBron, Jay-Z, and others are being accused for not speaking up when they are often the first to speak up on other things. Because they were people who hung out with Diddy. Now Jay-Z, if I'm not mistaken, I think now Jay-Z is saying that he and Diddy were never friends, they were just business partners. Like, nigga, stop lying. Like, you guys were clearly friends. Like, Jay-Z not a good friend. Well, we already know he's not a good friend from the way he treated Dame Dash. But look, if I'm with friends with someone and I found out they did some foul shit, I'm not gonna lie and then say we weren't friends. I'm just be like, look, I can't approve of what my homeboy did, but yeah, I was like, yeah, he's my friend. I'm not gonna deny that. Like, that makes you look bad if you go like if people know you and someone are good friends, and then you later claim you don't know this man because he's now, you know, facing some serious legal issues. It makes you look bad. Plus, I kind of get why he's doing it because people are questioning whether he himself has been entertaining some of these freak offs and stuff like that. Again, it's a good way to handle it and it's a bad way to handle it. I mean, someone like of his caliber who's a billionaire and has been around, you know, this sort of controversy for a long time with other people like R. Kelly, he should know how to he should know how to circumnavigate this sort of stuff and be like, look, yes he and I were friends, but no, I don't approve of the stuff he did, and no, I never got down with his freak offs and stuff like that. Like, yes, I did go to his parties and events, but I didn't entertain any of that sexual stuff. That's all he had to say. But sitting there denying someone is your friend when everyone knows you guys are friends, that would be like Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. Everyone know they're like close friends. And then Arsenio does some crazy ass shit. And then Eddie was like, well, he's never really my friend. We were just comedic partners. No one's gonna believe that. Like, we know you guys were homeboys. So, and yeah, we know. Well, LeBron's probably been to some Diddy stuff, but LeBron got some shit with him too. Anyway, so fuck LeBron. This is why Michael Jordan's still my favorite basketball player. This ironic thing is people used to always say, well, Michael doesn't get involved in talking about politics and current events, and he doesn't go off and do all these charities and this and that, which was actually cap. He did a lot of charitable stuff. He just never talked about it because it's better to do it than to talk about it. That's something that I'm not even Christian, but even the Bible said that like it's better to do good works and be silent about it than do good works just to talk about it. But in any case, this is just another reason why Jordan's is the goat and LeBron ain't. But anyway, Eric says, "Oh yeah, I saw that about that streamer." He said, "You're right. He got in trouble for that." Yeah, I don't know if they convicted him of anything. They dropped the charges against Kai, or did they lessen the charges, or I don't know because it wasn't just civil; it was criminal for it. I think they basically charged him for inciting a riot and not having, and also I think for not having the proper permits or something to organize an event. So Moonla says, yeah, that's Bobby, the thin, weird one that makes everything awkward on purpose, like The Office. Okay. I thought that was who she was. Eric says it's not about speed, it's about the direction. That's what she said. But Eric says I did 1,000 burpees on Labor Day. Wait, did you do 1,000 burpees consecutively, or did you do them throughout the day? Because the way my friend was talking about it, he was talking about like doing like 600 something of them consecutively, and I'm like, ain't no way I would do 600 plus burpees like consecutively, and like as one continuous set. Mm-mm. Like one superset. Mona says, and yeah, ever heard of uncharacterized discharge? That's what I got, and I could have it challenged, and I could have challenged it because the recruiter spelled my name wrong. Never deployed, and that made me upset. I was supposed to be sent to Japan. Yeah, so no, my discharge is an honorable discharge. I haven't heard of uncharacterized. The only ones I've heard of, so honorable, uh, less than honorable. I think it's honorable, less than honorable. Um, I think like other than honorable, something like that, and dishonorable. Dishonorable is like you can't do, like that's basically a dishonorable discharge is basically like leaving out of leaving from prison with a felon. Like that's the military equivalent of like getting a felony. But less than honorable and other than honorable, those can be challenged. Um, but I haven't heard of uncharacterized. Maybe that's the same thing as other than honorable. But those are the four classifications of discharges I've heard of: honorable, less than honorable, other than honorable, and dishonorable. Uh, but yeah, I'd have been mad not being able to go to Japan. But with me, I wasn't mad because we were going to Iraq and Afghanistan. So I heard from my homeboy when they came back like a year and a half later. He said they when they first got over there, they went to Kuwait, then they were in Iraq, then they were in Afghanistan, then they came home. I'm kind of I was kind of envious for the fact that he got to experience that, but at the time I was quite happy because because at the time that's when everyone was dying from those roadside IEDs in the Iraqi war. So I was like, and on top of that, I had one semester left to finish my first degree. So I was like, man, I'm glad I'm back so I can finish my degree up. So I was happy for that. Uh, but I wouldn't have mind, having that um, in the field experience, like because then you could say you're actually a combat veteran. And as far as the roadside IEDs, that was almost a factor. He told me, um, I think when they were in Iraq, one of the guys I used to know in my unit, he used to always give candy to the children in the village where they were stationed. And when they were when they were about to do their when they were about to do a road what do you call it? I'm forgetting all my military terms. When they were about to pack up and hit the road, um he said one of the kids came up and warned him that some guys in their village had had put some I had put some IEDs on the road to to hurt them when it, when they went out. So he saved them from some harm. So it definitely pays to be nice to people because that kid may have saved a lot of my friends' lives that day. Um, Eric says, but burpees is a challenge I took on to motivate myself. Oh no, that's good. That's what's up. No, I was saying either way you did it, 1,000 burpees is commendable to do. I don't care whether you did it as one set or if you did it throughout the whole day. Like that's still pretty good. That's some good stuff. Mullen says that's awesome, Eric. I fell out of shape from drinking and working from home. He's I gotta get back on it. Uh, yeah. Eric says Moonlit. I need to stop drinking too much myself. Just start with 5 burpees a day. Yeah, 5 burpees a day, or just go jogging for 10 minutes. Like and you're in Thailand, so go early before that sun comes up because we know how hot it gets down there. Eric says it took me 5 hours to do 1,000. Damn, 1,000 burpees. That's a long time. 5 hours. Like in 5 hours you could do a marathon. Like I'm serious. Like you could crush a marathon in 5 hours. So 1,000 burpees in 5 hours. That's a lot. One says it's not dishonorable. They told me uncharacterized meaning if I challenge I could go back. Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't say it was dishonorable. I was saying it sounds like other than honorable. Like I said, I was saying there's 4 classifications of discharges that I'm aware of. Like I said, honorable, less than honorable, other than honorable, and dishonorable. Yeah, if it was dishonorable, you couldn't even challenge that. It has to be like less than honorable or other than honorable. I was saying that uncharacterized sounds like other than honorable. So um so I'm pretty sure you can challenge that. I just haven't heard of uncharacterized, but I know it wouldn't be dishonorable because only one thing is dishonorable, and that's dishonorable. So yeah, those can't even be challenged as far as I know. And everyone I know who's received a dishonorable discharge, they all of them have done some fucked up shit. The funny thing is they were all the ones I know who've been dishonorably discharged were Marines. I don't know. I don't know anyone from the army who's been dishonorably discharged, but all the people who I do know who've been dishonorably discharged have all been Marines. So Eric says I did 25 pump burpees and 101 pumps and 30 cycle burpees today. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know the difference between all the different burpees. I just know the standard burpee, but I don't know all the different variations. Eric says true. It pays to be nice. Definitely. Like I said, he probably I remember the guy. Like I know that if he was doing it, he was doing it just from the kindness of his own heart. He wasn't doing it to like get intel from these children. He was like literally just doing it because he has kid. He had kids himself. So when he saw these children, he probably like saw them as like these could be his own kids or his or friends of his children. So and like a lot of these little Middle Eastern kids are really sweet and polite. Um, so I get it. So, um, like I said, it just so happened that he doing something nice paid off in the long run from um avoiding avoiding any possible danger because the Marines we shared our unit with, one of them did die um in their unit, but I, I'll say at least it was only one person, but that was still pretty you know unfortunate they lost someone because they were a small unit. They were a unit for LAV, lightly armored vehicles. These look like the LAVs. I don't know if they're still in commission or not, but to me, they look like a cross between a Humvee and a tank. That's the way I could describe them. They're like if a tank and a Humvee had a child. Those are what I call the lightly armored vehicles. Mullen says his other probably he said I stole my BDU jacket. LOL. He says I kept all my stuff. I didn't have to take like all the stuff they gave us. Like I kept because we pay for it. Like all all of our equipment, all of our uniforms, we pay for that out of our checks. So that stuff belongs to you. You're not stealing it. Like that literally belongs to you because you bought it. You don't have to. The only time you turn that stuff in is when it's no longer of operational uh, quality. So you DX it and they give you new stuff. But other than that, the stuff is yours. G says, "All right, get some sleep. Have a good night." All right, G, take care, man. Moonlit says, "Night, G." Eric says, "Humans are humans, so we all understand each other at some level." Yep. I think people can get along much better if they don't always got to discuss like politics or religion. If you take those things out, people could get along a lot better. Oh, that's the end of that shake. And it didn't bring all the boys to the yard. Let me pause. uh, Molly says, "Good. I didn't want to feel like I stole it. LOL. Thank you." No, you didn't steal it. Like I have my BDU jacket here. I have my field jacket. I have my BDU top, my BDU bottoms, the belt, the boots, both pairs. Although I lost one pair, I don't know what happened to them. I had all my equipment, like all your um all that equipment, all that stuff belongs to you. Only stuff you're not supposed to keep are like your your like you're not supposed to keep your rifle and all that other stuff, and of course like that goes back to the armory. But anything that doesn't have to stay in the armory that you can keep at home, that belongs to you. You pay for it out of your own money. All that stuff they issue you, all that stuff belongs to you. Faruza says, "What? I don't even know what you're talking about, man." He says, "I'm sorry, I don't know English." You use Google Translate. Um, Eric says, "Yes, we want the same ending, but maybe not the same path in mind." True. Eric says you should be able to keep your rifle. Just saying. Um, no, I think we should, but uh, no, that I know that had to return to the armory at the end of the day. Like you were issued your own M16A2 rifle, but that didn't belong to you. Like the reason I know it didn't belong to us is because we didn't have to pay for it. Because yeah, um, but yeah, all the weapons that are issued to you, like technically that all belongs to the government, as far as I'm aware. Now your private like your personal firearms that belongs to you, but any weapon, any firearms or weapons issued to you through the army that belongs to the government. That's U.S. property. But all of your but all your gear, your uniforms, that belongs to you because that comes out of your check. He said, "I get it, but you still get me." Yeah, no, of course I get you. It makes sense that you should be able to take because it kind of makes sense like a well looking at the Second Amendment, a well regulated militia. Like it would make sense that someone who's a reservist or guardsman or even active duty and they no longer live on post, they live off post in civilian housing. It would make sense that they would be able to take their weapons with them because because that means now you have a well armed citizenry, which in of course in like colonial times would have definitely been the case. Like these citizen soldiers would have kept their weapons at home with them. Moonlit says, "I disagree. The rifle's government issue. Maybe if you got a well, yeah, I mean, guys, I get it. I'm just saying the rifle is government property because one, we don't. I mean, it's a good thing because if we had to pay for it, that would be expensive, right? Now, again, when you are going to the field, you can like if you bring your private, depending on your MOS, if you, I think non-combat MOSs wouldn't be allowed to do so, but I guess if you're in a combat MOS like infantry and um, like infantry, artillery, tanks, special forces, stuff like that. I guess you can bring your own private firearms with you, but again, those that's not the same as the stuff they issue you. Anything they issue to you is government property as far as weaponry goes. Now, I don't know the exact laws on that because I'm guessing this would be specified in the UCMJ. So don't like I said, don't quote me on that exactly, but from my understanding, the weapons that are issued to us are government property. Shit, we're government property when we swear swear our oaths. But I mean, all the gear that's issued to us that belongs to us because we have to pay for it out of our own checks, out of our own money. Like you'll see it, when you got your checks back in the day, where it says they took out X amount for this and X amount for that. So, um, one says maybe you got a purple heart. Eric says you took care of it also. Yeah, exactly. You're responsible. You're responsible for cleaning it. Or you're responsible for zeroing your weapons so it's accurate. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, like I said, I agree with you guys. You should be able to take it home technically, but even if you did take it home, it still could be considered like government property. Whereas you would have to uh, return it upon request because it doesn't belong to you. Whereas like all your other stuff, like your uniforms and all that shit, they don't care about that because you already paid for it out of your money anyway. um, Faruza, we don't understand what you're saying, my friend. Uh, Eric says yes, well armed and trained people. He said you did pay for it with taxes. True. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying like it's not directly taken out of our checks. Like all of our equipment. Like remember even basic, they took out of our checks for our haircuts, the haircuts we didn't want. Like when you looked at your statements, it showed everything they took money out of, like all that stuff they issued you when you went to reception. Like they took money out for all that stuff that you went to reception for. I mean, that you got out of reception. All of your PT uniforms, your BDUs, or which are now called ACE, I guess ACUs. Um, like your cleaning stuff, all that stuff. They took money out of your check for all that crap. So all that belongs to you. Melissa says yes, artillery. We have our personal sidearms, but yes, we signed that contract. We are government property. Eric says I get it. That's crazy. Melissa, I was saying we shouldn't be able to keep our we shouldn't. Oh, he said I was saying we shouldn't be able to keep our issued arms. Oh, okay. I thought you were arguing the opposite. I thought you were saying we should. Um, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I'm just saying it would make sense if we could because it makes sense in the original wording of the Second Amendment that people should have firearms and for the purposes of a well-regulated militia. And so, so far as we're talking about like reservists and guardsmen, it would make sense that instead of returning that to the armory, um, every time they take that stuff out, they just keep it at home with them because it would that goes into having a well regulated militia. But I guess nowadays they can just keep that in the armory, and you show up to your National Guard's post and get all your gear there. So I don't know. Whatever works for them. um, Feruza says I don't know English. Yeah, we're aware of that. I was telling you, Feruza, use Google Translate. That will probably help. But yeah, guys. So like I said, I just wanted to touch base with you guys because it's been 2 days since I live streamed because I've been hitting the gym pretty late because I would get off of work at 7, eating, do all that good stuff, then hit the gym. By the time I get back from gym, it's like almost midnight. So um, it was hard live streaming because I didn't want to do it early during the day when I was either working or at a time where I thought people probably wouldn't pop on because I've learned from experience that before 6 p.m. on a weekday isn't a isn't a good time to stream for me. So maybe for other people they can live stream that early, but I've noticed I don't get um much play at that time of night. I mean, sorry, that time of day, because most people are at work, and the only people I normally do get are people overseas who really have no context with the subjects that I bring up. Moonla says also, and I'm sure you and your missus can agree, but Google Translate doesn't work well with that with Thai, but it's improving. It doesn't work well with anything that's not a European language, to be honest. But I think Faruza comes from some. Mm, I'm gonna say some either like Central Asian or Middle Eastern country. So it might work better for him, but for eight like East Asian languages, nah, it's still pretty bad. It's improved, but it's still pretty bad because they have the algorithm where it learns through trial and error. There is a paid translator app that's supposed to be better than Google, but I forgot the name of it. And again, it's you have to pay for it, so I wouldn't spend money on it. One says also, and I'm sure you and your oh, we already read this. Sorry, you said agreed. Eric says my brother's a staff sergeant in the army. Don't quote me on his rank. I know nothing. Much support, brother. Great channel. Appreciate it. Yeah, if he's a staff sergeant, he's an E6. Staff sergeants are E6. That's like that's when you hit E6. That's when you really start to transition from like uh to more of like doing more of a more more administrative duties like at an E6. Like an E5 is sort of like in between. Like you now you're responsible for like um E5 has some responsibilities as that's your beginning rank as an NCO, non-commissioned officer, for people who are watching that aren't familiar with military talk. So your E5 is your beginning level as a non-commissioned officer, but you don't have that like your duties aren't that burdensome. It's really when you become an E6. It's really as a staff sergeant when you have more like responsibilities as an NCO. So and as an E6, you're usually a squad leader. Sometimes an E5 can be a squad leader as well or assistant squad leader, but usually the squad leader is an E6. Yeah, Moonlit says, yeah, I think that's E6. Ari says, I'll have to ask him. Um, right. He's in it. Moonlit says he's still in. Yeah, I think Eric said the guy's still active duty. He's an E6 now. I mean, he's a staff sergeant, and a staff sergeant E6. So you have E5, which is sergeant, E6, which is staff sergeant. You have E7, which is sergeant first class. Then you have E8. A E8 a, um is either a master sergeant or or a first sergeant, depending on which what role they take. They E8 is either first sergeant or master sergeant. Then E9 is sergeant major. E10 is a command sergeant major. E11 is like a major command sergeant major or something like that. And the E12 is the sergeant major of the army. So uh, Moonless says don't play around. E8 gets smoked. Oh no, I've never run afoul of a first sergeant. Nah, and you really don't come across them that often, other than like for like administrative stuff. Like usually they're like like outside of like basic training, like usually an E8 is mostly doing like administrative stuff. They work alongside like the captain or the company XO. And Moonlit says, "Hell no." Eric says he would be ashamed of me right now and trying to describe his rank, but I'm the older brother, so I get a pass. Yeah, like I say, a staff sergeant is an E6 in the army, so don't even worry about it. Usually the E6 is from all the NCOs I used to talk to back in the day. They told me usually E6 is like the last rank you get to you have to be more before you have to be more political. Like that's what they would say. Oh, you gotta. They was like after E6 you gotta play politics to, which is always funny because people always say that, but in every industry, every career, once you get up to a high enough level, things get quote unquote political because in every job, the farther up you go, the more you're gonna have to deal directly with people. And when you get up to that middle management level, you're in that level where you still have a bunch of superiors, but you also have uh, bunch of people below you whom you're responsible for now. That's that's the nature of all middle management, no matter whether it's the military, civilian, academic, professional, whatever. Like at any level, when you get to like that middle management level, it's always going to be playing politics because you have to deal with so many people at different levels. You have to deal with superiors, and you have to deal with people whom you're responsible for at a lower rank than you. So middle management is always going to be quote unquote playing politics. So, but yeah, like when it comes to NCO, usually they say after E6 you gotta be more mindful and play politics. If you're a commissioned officer, I've heard is usually after you reach major that you have to. And for a major in the army is um, a 04. And I'm only referring to army. I can't like it's different if you're talking about Marines, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force. Eric says nice, thank you, no problem. Only says nah, he'd be happy you showing him respect. Uh, Eric says thanks, Moonlit. Yeah, like I said, he's at the level of staff sergeant. That's when like I said, that's when the army your position in the army becomes more professional. Like it starts at E5 technically because you become an NCO. You have to go through, you have to go to NCO training school and all that stuff. And the thing is, you can get E5 before you actually undergo your NCO training, but you still have to pass it to keep your rank. And then, like I said, once you do, that's your start. That's your beginning as a non-commissioned officer. But like I said, it really becomes more like professional at E6, where your brother is right now. Like I said, I was E4 mafia. I didn't like I wasn't because I was still in college at the time. I really wasn't thinking about trying to become an E5. Although about looking at it now, I should have just so I could have the E5 before I left the army. But at the time, I wasn't even thinking of it. I was like, I'm gonna be E4 mafia and ride this shit out. But yeah, I kind of miss it. Like I I'm tempted to try to get a waiver. I told you guys this before. I was tempted to get a waiver so that I can go re-enlist in the DC National Guard because the DC National Guard is taking all prior service from all branches. And if you're Army and Marines, you don't have to go through retraining. So I am considering applying for a waiver and doing it because they're taking everyone who's still physically fit up to 60 years old for prior service. And I was like, why are they so hard up for the DC National Guard? And then you look at everything that's been happening in current events lately, and I was like, well, it kind of makes sense they want to beef up the DC National Guard. So, Moon says, what made you choose Army? Did you ever rethink that? I always thought about Marines, but Army was faster. Yeah, I've told the story before, but yeah, originally I enlisted. Well, actually, when I was 17, I almost enlisted in the Navy, and it was this really cute Navy recruiter. And honestly, the only reason I didn't go through with it was because at the time I had a girlfriend, and I was like, nah, I want to stay here because I got a girlfriend. I didn't tell the recruiter that, but I told her I needed time to think about it, and I'll decide after I graduate. So she was just like, cool, okay. Because I was a minor, I don't think she was gonna push it too much. Like if I was 18, she probably would have pushed me harder. But being that I was 17 still at the time, she didn't push it, and she was like, that's cool. Um, Again, I didn't tell her the reason was because I had a girlfriend, but that was my reason, and that was a bad reason, but whatever. Um, but when I actually did like look to actually enlist, I was originally doing it for the Air Force, except when I before I was before I was supposed to go to the MEPS um to do my medical. Well, no, I did all my medical and all that sort of stuff for the Air Force under MEPS, but I didn't already go back to do my oath and all that sort of stuff. But I had already picked a job and stuff like that. But I realized they were honest and told me that they can't hold those MOS the training for the MOS that you chose while you're in basic, but only the Army and Marines could do that. When I found that out, I started talking to an Army recruiter, and I became more interested in joining the Army. And because of that, I told him I want to do the Army instead. The Air Force had a bit of sour grapes, and they tried to hold my paperwork from the Army. Um, but after a while, I guess the higher ups got involved and made them give them the paperwork that I had already did at MEPS for the Army, and that was it. So now I wanted to do Air Force because I thought they were the smartest of all the branches, which they are. Well, at least since at the time, I think Space Force is now probably the smartest, but at the time, yeah, Air Force was the smartest. They're the only branch that had their own college on their on base. Like other places offer college courses, but the Air Force has their own college on Air Force bases. So I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely the smartest ones. And when I took my ASVAB, I scored high enough that they told me at any job I wanted in the Air Force I could have it. So I was like, cool. So I like I said, I was initially interested in the Air Force, but and I thought it'd be good looking girls there too. I'm not gonna lie. But again, I switched over when I found out I couldn't lock in the job I wanted while I was in basic. If it's available, I can get it, but if not, I would have to choose something else. And I'm like, I don't want to be stuck coming out of basic and having to pick something I don't really want to do. So I switched over to the Army, and that was it. Moonla says interesting. It makes sense. The National Guard is recruiting. He said I can move back though, but I love to rejoin. Um, yeah, well, only the DC National Guard, not all of them. This is specifically the DC National Guard, not all National Guard. The DC National Guard is taking anyone who's prior service, assuming they're still healthy. But again, this is specifically the DC National Guard. Not this is not the National Guard across like all states. And I said I'm thinking specifically the DC National Guard is doing this because of all the volatile events going on right now, both domestically and internationally. Because this was something I heard about last year before the current presidential election cycle. So it's not anything to do with the election cycle. It has more to do with like you know current events going on globally and other stuff that we probably aren't privy to because it's above our pay grades to know. So get some water. Like civil unrest, natural disasters, probably honestly, they're not going to be beefing up their numbers for nothing. It's not a coincidence that they're not going to suddenly be like, oh well, we need a bunch of prior service people here. It's a reason. They might not disclose it, but they're not going to want to beef up their numbers because the DC National Guard is responsible for civil unrest and protecting the capital of the city. I mean, the capital of the country. So yeah. So I can't say what's going on, but again, it's above our pay grade. It's an easy paycheck. And that exactly that's why I wanted to do it. I was like, look, we're army, so we don't even have to go through retraining and fucking national. They don't do shit. Let's be honest. On the weekends, they don't do shit. So it'd be sweet to be in DC. You in DC, you in uniform. Well, never mind. We're both married, but if we were single guys, come on, single guys, we're in DC, we're in uniform. Shit, right? So plus it would be like plus you're in uniform, so that's all sorts of perks in DC because every most people who work in DC are either in politics or government, right? So um, you're pretty much gonna get treated pretty well in DC when you're in uniform. Mullen says, "Oh man," he said, "Weekend Warriors getting roasted." Well, yeah, except um, people don't know that even in the guards and reserves, you still have combat MOS positions. Like the Army National Guard has special forces. Like you can be a weekend warrior Green Beret. So ain't no one gonna tease a Green Beret other than other Green Berets. But you're not gonna tease a Green Beret because, like I said, you can be a Green Beret and be in the National Guard. Even Army Reserves doesn't have Green Beret Special Forces. Uh, um, only National Guard does. So ain't no one gonna tease them. Like I said, plus it extends your military career. So if you're looking to edge out a few years towards retirement, like say you did like 10 years active duty, or even not that, like just say you just did 4 years active duty, and then you spent the next 20 years in the guard or reserves, you're gonna hit that 24 mark, um, close to 25, and get close to full military pension. So it's smart. Like I said, you have some guys that do their 4 years active duty and then they just stay in the guard or reserves for the next 10, 15, 20 years, ride it out while they have a civilian job, And, you know, by the time they're like in their early 40s, they already got a military pension while they're still working their civilian job, meaning they don't have to worry about shit. So that's not a bad idea. Moonless says, I never really thought of that, man. That's clutch. I didn't even think of it either. A lot of us don't, but some of these smarter guys did because they had higher ups or mentors that taught them the game, or they spoken with like people in the VA who told them to do that. Like, hey man, after you come out of active duty, re-enlist in the reserves or National Guard, and keep like there's like that still counts towards your retirement. So and you still making rank at the same, this at the same time as people active duty or whatever. So it's not a bad idea. And like I've mentioned before, I don't know if people heard my previous streams. There were some extremely nerdy people who were in the military, and people don't realize it. Socrates himself was called a Hippolyte. Hippolytes were citizen soldiers of Athens, and although everyone knows him as a philosopher, people who came up to him weren't always like just philosophy students. Sometimes these were people in the Athenian army who came to Socrates to hear his wisdom as a military strategist. And he served in the Athenian army up until his like 40s and was a war hero in the Peloponnesian War as like a decorated war hero like two or three times. But most people don't know that about Socrates. They just know him as the I think they're I you know I know um I I know all I know is I know nothing sort of guy. That's all they think of, and they think of like this little pudgy uh snub nosed guy. I mean, he may not have been that attractive, but again, dude was sort of like a cross between Rambo and Steve Hawking. So, and as well as, Socrates is the founder of this, of the Socratic philosophers, and pretty much formalized critical thinking, critical analysis. Um, but the other guy, nerdy guy, was Rene Descartes, the founder of modern philosophy, the guy who said, "I think, therefore I am." He was uh, in the let me say the Danish army. I think the Danish Royal Army or something like that. I think it's the Danish Royal Army. Or what do the Netherlands call themselves? Do they call them Dutch or whatever? I think he was in the Dutch Royal Army, whatever it was. But he was another really like um, heady guy who also served uh, in the military and served during wartime. Moonlit says National Guard can still be deployed overseas too. Yeah, they're the first to go. Reserves and Guard go before active duty because they can be mobilized more quickly. That's what people don't realize. When they tease these guys for weekend warriors, they don't realize reservists and National Guard are the first to get deployed. That's what that's why a lot of people in the regular army don't know much about the movements of National Guard and reserves, except for the ones who've worked with them. National Guard and reserves are the first to go because they can be mobilized within 20. They can be mobilized and deployed within 48 hours. When we got out of deployment, I think like 32 hours to check in. Some like 20. It was like 24 hours or 32 hours, something like that to check in. As soon as I got that call, I instantly emailed all my professors, told them what was going on. Uh, A few of them I met on campus. I just started packing my shit and headed right to my reserve unit that 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 next morning. Mona says he was militant. I read up on it a little. Need to dig deeper though next time I read up on him. Yeah. Like I said, National Guard and reserves are the first to get deployed. They get deployed before the regular army. The regular army, there's more logistics to. There's more logistical problems, which is why it takes a while to for the regular army before they or the regular Marines before they go overseas for deployment. Whereas Army and Marine reserves and National Guard can get deployed like that. That's what people don't understand. They're the first to go. So people might think these are weekend warriors, but any 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 person in the Guard or Reserves that served back in the 2000s probably saw deployment because of the ongoing wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The Afghanistan war, since it lasted from 2001 to 2021 for 20 years, three generations of military have seen deployment there. Three generations. Like that could be your grandfather, your father, and the son all got deployed to Afghanistan at one point because three different generations have gotten deployed there. Or with Iraq, it wasn't as long lasting, but you might have had a parent or grandparent that was stationed there in the 90s, and then one who was stationed there in the 2000s, and then you still have some there now in the 2010s where the the embassy is. So because the U.S. embassy in Iraq is the biggest one, and is like one of the largest U.S. embassies in the world, and it's definitely the biggest in the Middle East. You say, LOL, maybe even four generations, possibly. I don't know about four generations though. I mean, that's possible, but it's definitely been three generations of military that's seen time in Afghanistan. So like I say, it was 20 years. Hamid Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan back in 2002, 2003. I know his goddaughter came to my went to school at my alma mater, and like I said, the country was only work functioning because we kept it together. As soon as we pulled out, everything fell to smithereens, which meant they never had a long term plan for how this place was going to be secured and run and run independently of us being there. There was just no forward thinking plans on that because this it went to shit as soon as we pulled out. No Diddy. Mula says I'd definitely be on the edge being deployed to the Middle East. Yeah, like I said, when I couldn't go, I wasn't upset. I was happy. I just I had to try to act like I wasn't happy. But so one of my sergeants came up to me at the time, an E6, like staff sergeant. He was like, "Man, we could really use you." I was like, "No, I understand, Sarge." I was like, "Look," I said, when medical get me straight, I was like, I'll be back. Another sergeant came who was cooler to me. He was a black dude. He was on the we were the detachment. He was at the headquarters, so I didn't know him as much. But I got to know him while we were going through the pre-deployment stuff. Where you have to go through all your medical and legal and all that sort of stuff before you deploy. He was like, "You leaving us?" I was like, "Nah, I'll be back, Sarge." I said, as soon as they get me squared away. He was like, "All right." He said, he's like, "All right, Roger that." But of course, they never got me squared away because the like I said, the medical review board was waiting for more information to come from Walter Reed, which was my unit I was going back to, and they never got information coming from Walter Reed because they got deployed right when I came back. So after that, they just determined to medically discharge me, which again is honorable. So there was no problem with that. It's just that I was hoping to stay stateside and finish out my, my term until everyone came back, but it never happened. And because uh, I wasn't able to drill, they took all they charged me for all my gear, which I had to replace because when I had switched when I had switched reserve units, someone had been reissued all my gear, but it was still under my name, so I was still responsible for it. So that's because that was almost like I'm gonna say what $800 or something like that they took out of my money. Only says exactly, and we did what we do best, left our hand-me-down artillery and arms behind for the rebels and militant groups. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good pullout. Pause. But to be honest, there it was no way that was going to be a good. It could have been done better, but there was no way it was going to be a good pullout. And like I said, everyone gave Biden a lot of shit over that. That was one of the very few things I agree with him on is finally getting us out because it was two other presidents before him that kept saying they were gonna pull us out. Obama said he was gonna pull us out, and Trump said he was gonna pull us out, and neither one of them did because of political pressure. Biden said, fuck that. Forget he ignored the political pressure and just said, I'm just gonna take these guys out. And again, there was no way to do it in which there wouldn't have been blowback. It could have been done better, but the fact that when we had already warned the Afghani president that we were leaving, he what fucked a lot of stuff up is he fled the country before we even left. Like if you remember, the Afghani president fled the country before we pulled out, so he already caused the panic. Like of course that's going to cause that panic. If if we know like the United States is going to be reabsorbed back into like I don't know, like Mexico or something like that, or parts of it, and you find out the American president has fled the country and moved to Europe, of course it's going to cause turmoil, and that's exactly what happened. Like because we had already forewarned the Afghani president of what was going on, and we have and we knew that the what's the name of that the militant group that they were going to come back and reclaim the government. It was never going to work out well. Like seeing your president flee the country is going to cause that's going to cause panic. Like to the Ukrainian president's credit, when they were invaded, he stayed. He stayed and was even putting in that work. So I can if I if I disagree with everything else with Ukraine, I can at least commend their president for having a backbone because he could have easily just fled the country. He didn't. He stayed and even worked with his military leaders. But again, the Afghani president fled like a bitch. He straight up fled like a bitch, and that was before we pulled out. So again, of course, there was gonna be panic. Mona says I'm getting lit up by mosquitoes, man. I can't take it. Cover myself and mosquito spray, no diddy. Yeah, be careful with that because um I mean, I don't know about Thailand, but if it's similar to the Philippines, there's a lot of Philippines is notorious for getting dengue fever from mosquitoes. So yeah, be safe with that. I mean, if you gotta go, that's cool because I'm about to go in anyway. He says Biden even alive, haven't seen him. Yeah, he was just on the news earlier, but I honestly I don't think he's in control of the White House anymore. I really don't think so. I think I think the people who's really been pulling the strings since we've known of his cognitive decline has been the Vice President Kamala Harris, along with Joe Biden's wife, Doctor Joe Biden, his son allegedly as well, and probably that the Speaker of the House. Um, no, not Speaker of the House, Nancy. Whoever, yeah, I think Nancy Pelosi or something like that. Like I think those those individuals are the ones that's been kind of pulling the strings behind the White House right now. I really don't think Biden has been making major decisions. I really don't. I think since it's become apparent to everyone of his cognitive decline that they kind of taken away a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities from him. On top of that, I liked how they grilled Kamala Harris on that Fox interview 2 days ago when the guy asked, he was like, why, he said, why weren't you honest with us about Biden's cognitive decline? He said, he said you guys didn't see that within that 3 year period of his sliding mental facilities faculties. And she was like, all I can, she was being totally dishonest. She was like, I won't say dishonest, she was being pretty disingenuous. She was like, well, all I know is like when we were in uh the command room, or whatever they call the room where they are, doing their military shit, the command room or whatever you call it. She was like, all I know is when we were in the command room, is and stuff was happening. She was like, he seemed very sharp. I'm like, that doesn't answer the question, and you're being like you're being disingenuous. Like, I wish they had asked her that at at the debates, and they never did because they gave they it was a bullshit debate that that ABC News did. But I wish they had asked her that because she definitely needed to be grilled on that. Like why did you lie? I would just say, why did you lie to the public about how about Biden not suffering any mental uh, problems, and now everyone is aware that he has been suffering this for years. So I don't. So the war room, I think it's called, or whatever. But in any case, I don't think he's making executive decisions anymore in the White House. I really don't. I highly doubt it. He's there now as just the face of the presidential of the office of president. But I don't think he's making the decisions anymore. Moon says, I agree. I have respect for UK leader. He's solid, but I don't respect the war. You mean Ukrainian leader? Yeah. Um, Moon says, yes, it's dengue fever, high alert in my area, but I'm safe as possible. Some women died here 4 days ago from it. Not district. I'm in Saibai area by the Air Force Base, which my direct neighbor works for. So, have you gotten vaccinated for it then? Because I think there's like some sort of inoculation for dengue fever, if I'm not mistaken. Mola says Biden's mental health is long gone, and Harris and Trump ain't much better. I don't even care anymore. Not gonna vote. I mean, that's your decision if you don't vote. I'm gonna vote just because, even though it's kind of pointless in Maryland because Maryland is a blue state, but I'm determined, just as a protest vote, to vote against everyone who's blue. So anyone who's blue in the state, I'm voting against, including the including Harris as president. But I Um, I mean, because they're all like the two Biden and Trump are both silent from the silent generation. They're not going to be as quick to draw as someone younger. But it's funny that they were touting Harris as being a younger, vibrant candidate when she's 60. Like, I don't consider 60 young and vibrant. When the fuck did that become young and vibrant? She's 60. She's postmenopausal. Like, that's not young and vibrant. Okay. Alexander Ocasio Cortez, that'll be young and vibrant, and she's in her 30s. Um, but no, um, I don't, I don't, I don't think Kamala Harris is suffering any cognitive decline. She's just not that bright. That's different. She's just never been that bright, but she hasn't suffered any cognitive problems. Um, Trump, he's probably had like some cognitive decline just because he's 79, but there's no evidence that he's suffering dementia as of yet. We'll see. He said, "No, I don't take vaccines." Oh well, he said, "I know I should vote. I just feel the corruption is deep with voting." Yeah, but you don't realize that politicians factor in voter antipathy into their favor in certain measures. Like if they know a certain candidate needs a contingent group of of voters to secure their majority, and they know a lot of the people in that group, particularly like liberals and Democrats, express a lot of voter antipathy. They factor in that towards towards them towards that person not winning, and vice versa. If a lot of people who are lean conservative or Republican see that the Democratic candidate is the likely victor of an election, some of them won't even try to vote. They'll just you know um, not vote out of antipathy, out of out of I'm not sorry, not antipathy, out of apathy, out of voter apathy. And again, Team Blue will then factor that into their victory as well. So it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. I'm going to vote either way. Plus, I mean, people get too worked up over the presidential elections, and presidential elections are the least important thing you can vote for. What's more important is the down ballot. Everything on the down ballot is way more important. Mona says I'd say 35 is a good age for presidency, but they have to be intelligent and for the people. Yeah, but not all of them have been intelligent, and definitely a lot of them haven't been for the people. He said I lean right always, but not for extremes of both parties. The left always gets made to look good. Sometimes, but again, you have to realize that these people are clever. They have um, political strategists who factor in voter apathy towards a person winning or losing. So the best way for them to lose on account of that is not to fall into voter apathy, which becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. He said local elections like community leaders, mayors, et cetera, are important. Exactly. Um, anyway, I'm about to go. It's late. It's shit. It's 1:30. I need to go. I'm tired, and yeah, I don't like being up this late. That's why I'm struggling to stay up. Um, he said media in their back pockets as well, including social media. That's both sides. Both political sides manage the news, unfortunately, which is why there's uh, mainstream media or legacy media has met an all-time low in public trust because it's managed by both government and corporate sources. So people have every right not to trust the legacy media anymore. That's 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 their error to that's on them to fix that. That is not on the public to to assert to reassert their faith in them. Um, Molin says, "Yeah, I'm out too." He's a he's a good fun stream. Thank you. All right, guys, appreciate it. For people in the replay, appreciate you guys coming through and watching. And if anyone wants to support the cause, you can always hit me or Cash App or Venmo. Those links are in my description. Um, or you can support me through the memberships, which start at $2.99. Or you can just hit a like and subscribe. That helps me grow through the algorithm. And the algorithm is all consuming, all important on YouTube. But other than that, thanks guys. I'll be back again, same bat time, same bat channel. Maybe a little earlier than the same bat time though. All right, talk to you later. And thanks, Moonlit.